Good morning, Magic. I'm Gavin Verhey from Wizards of the Coast, and Kaldheim has tons of awesome brand new legends to build commander decks around. But there's one that I wanted to build up right away, and that's this guy, Kardur, Doomscourge. I've got a pretty cool red-black commander deck built up with him, so let's take a look. So Kardur is 2, a black and a red for 4/3. And his big deal is when he enters the battlefield, until your next turn, all of your opponent's creatures must attack if able, and must attack another player if able. Essentially, it goads them. On top of that, it has this second ability, which is just gravy in my opinion, of whenever an attacking creature dies, and that's anyone's attacking creature, even your opponent's, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. The second ability is nice, but that first ability is really where it's at to me. If you play Kardur once, you're going to goad all of your opponent's creatures, which is pretty good on its own. But couple that with the fact that you can keep replaying Kardur over and over and over again, and very quickly, you just can't be attacked at all. So here's how the deck plays out. You'll spend your first several turns doing things that commander decks typically do in the first few turns. Playing mana rocks, setting up draw engines like Phyrexian Arena, all that kind of good stuff. But then eventually, when the board starts getting hairy, it's Kardur's time to shine. Usually you'll have 6, maybe 7 mana by this point, and you'll slam Kardur down with mana to spare. And suddenly, all of your opponent's creatures are forced to attack each other, while you stay totally safe and can keep building up. And from this point, it's on you to find ways to continue to loop Kardur. And there are a few ways I really like to do just that. The first way is a pretty classic piece of Black's color pie, and that's reanimation. You get your Kardur to die, perhaps you sacrifice it to a card like Bontu, and then you reanimate it, either with cards like, well, Reanimate, or you set up a loop with, say, Sword of Light and Shadow, which is really nice, or Pauper All-Star Tortured Existence. Every creature you draw turns into a Kardur coming back from your graveyard. And hey, if we're sacrificing creatures anyway, that brings us to category number 2, which is Black Blink style effects. So those are cards like Supernatural Stamina, Malakir's Mire, and Rescue from the Underworld, which allow it to come right back into play. An especially fun one that kind of sits nestled between all these other ones is Cauldron Dance. Once your commander dies, you can return it to the battlefield with Cauldron Dance to trigger it, and then at end of turn, it comes back into your hand, so you can safely play it out again next turn. Now, none of these are forever, and so that's where the third category comes in. Cards that will let you create Kardurs every single turn. For example, Splinter Twin. If you Splinter Twin up a Kardur, you can tap it to create a copy of itself. Now it is legendary, but because of how the legendary rule works, you can sacrifice the new version of Kardur, and its triggered ability will still go onto the stack. So the end result is your tapped Kardur with a Splinter Twin and all of your opponent's creatures being goaded. You've also got Sanctum of Eternity, which allows you to return Kardur to your hand and just recast it turn after turn. And then maybe the most absurd of them all is Conjurer's Closet, which for free will flicker your Kardur back into play every single turn. And the best part of this all is, removal on your commander doesn't really bother you. In fact, if they kill off Kardur, it can just go back into the command zone where you can cast it again and get a trigger again without having to put it back in the command zone yourself. So while all of this is going on, you can't be attacked. So it's a perfect time for you to set up for the long game with all kinds of card advantage and digging for your really powerful spells. And one of the best ways to do this, I find, is Monarch. If you're the Monarch and nobody can attack you, well then you're gonna stay the Monarch for a very long time. Another great thing to do here is play a Planeswalker. Your opponents can't attack them either, so you can just continue to build them up toward their ultimate, or use a strong minus a bunch of times. One of the ones in this deck that I really like is Liliana Vess. The first -2 allows me to go get whatever piece I need to keep Karduring them, for example, Conjurer's Closet, and then the next one can go find whatever big spell I want to help lock up the late game. And being ready for the late game is really important, because Kardur will continue to make all of your opponents fight each other until there's one opponent left, and then they're welcome to attack you. So finding the cards that you need to win that long game is going to be crucial. Some big end game spells like In Garruk's Wake will help make sure you can attack through the opponent that's left, and also you have a lot of ways of gaining card advantage, and you don't need to spend a lot of resources other than looping your Kardur. So hopefully your hand will be well stocked with all kinds of removal spells and other threats by the time you're down to just one opponent. Sudden Spoiling is actually a surprise all-star here, because when you get down to one-on-one, Kardur will still make them attack you. So you have them attack with all of their creatures, you cast Sudden Spoiling, you block and kill them all off, and Kardur even triggers to deal them a bunch of damage. So that's a really nice situation to be in. One other tip for playing this deck: don't be afraid to attack, because when you play Kardur, they can't attack you, and all of their creatures are forced to attack someone else. That means that often they'll be wide open and you can chip in some damage. And you want to make sure you can kill them off before you run out of ways to loop your Kardur or they disrupt you in some other way. And when you get down into a one-on-one situation, you really want that player's life total to be as low as possible. If they're at 25, that's going to be a lot harder to chew through than if they're at 10, and you're going to really wish you would attack them a few more times. You can find the full deck list for this commander deck in the description down below. And also, if you want to see the deck in action, I recently played it on a charity stream with Hav, Talia Vess, and Garbage Andy. And I'll put a link to that down in the description as well. So, what do you think about the deck? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know if I missed any cards, and also what Kaldheim commander deck you would most like to see on a future episode, and maybe I'll build one up for you. I'll talk with you again on Friday, and in the meantime, may you make sure your opponents are always attacking each other. You got this.
Let's see what we get for our foil. Skemp. What? Okay, check out. What is this? This is amazing. So we get foil, signed, rare, foil rare. Showcase uncommon. Okay, this is nuts.